All right, Shalom. I have to start off by saying all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakadash. Honest to those I've learned from, those men that's constantly pushing out this word on the internet, keeping the sheep fed. And Shalom to those of Yasharala, seeking the truth, seeking righteousness, and hoping for edification. All right. This thing's winding down quick, right? So I'm going to talk about this whole banking system. Because I've always looked at, just coming up, trying to figure things out, just living in America. Before I came to the truth, learning that this place is actually Babylon the Great. I just wondered, what is it going to take to bring this place down? Because, I've always been a student of history. And I watched how the Soviet Union, which was a great empire in itself, just crumbled after, a Hollywood actor named Ronald Reagan got up and said, Gorbachev, tear this wall down. And all of a sudden, they want to disband the empire, which is a stupid thing to do. Sometimes you gotta tough it out, but they stretch themselves too thin through war, and of course they say one of the places that empires go to die is when you attempt to go to war with Afghanistan. So after the Mujahideen, Osama bin Laden, the boys put the thing on them, they disbanding their empire in the early 90s. And I was like, what is it going to take to bring down America? Because I was like, you look at the Soviet, you saw, man, they ruled. I mean, they put all the stands to mercy, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, all the stands over there, they pretty much was putting their foot on their necks, and they ruled with might. They said the thing about the Soviet Union is when they made something that lasted, they'll have a iron, they'll have a stove, and that thing, it just doesn't break. In America, they make things break in about 5 years if you're good, 5 to 10 years if you're lucky. But over there, they rule with a might. They had their iron teeth, and somehow they were just broken. They fell apart. And so, what's it going to take to break America? Because I know the Russians said by in 2010 they thought that America would have disbanded. And what's really holding America together is something that they can manipulate. Is that their financial system. If you want to break Babylon the Great, you got to break that financial system. I wanted to look that up too. Like they said the first thing traded on the stock market were slaves. So, that's the foundation right there, holding Jake down. So it's like, what is it going to take to break America? And it's that financial system. And one way they really, predictive program their movies and their shows, HBO is, high on their watch list. And they had that awesome series called Game of Thrones. And in it, they had an entity called the Iron Bank. And you really wonder, after a while, Game of Thrones is about, different nationalities pretty much trying to rule Westeros, which was the capital of that land. And I remember it was King Rob. He was a Baratheon, which pretty much I think they represented kind of like the Scottish people because they had their bannerman was like a buck, a deer. And I think that's also like the bannerman of the Scots. But anyway, he became king, and he was more like he was capitulating to the Iron Bank all the time. I was like, man, is this dude the king, or is he just a figurehead. I mean, because he had to fight a war to take that throne. I mean, he took it from the Mad King. And it's like no matter who the king was, there were always, you know, bowing down to the Iron Bank. So if I was the king of Westeros, first thing I'm doing is taking over the bank. I mean, straight up. I'm tired. I'm tired of being in debt. They're always in debt to the Iron Bank. So then, pretty much to see the Iron Bank. One thing I'm gonna tell you, that series, Game of Thrones, they were telling on themselves. I mean, they had what's that guy? Lord Varys. He was a eunuch. They cut off his private parts, threw it in the fire, and it's like a lot of stuff that's happening behind the scenes in their world, like in Hollywood or in politicians. You could kind of, they were showing you it in like a parallel way through parables. But it was like the Iron Bank. It was, they said it was simply the Iron Bank. It was a bank of Free City of Bravos. It is arguably the most powerful financial institution in their known world, you know, the fictional world of Game of Thrones. And with clients across Westeros, including the government, the king of Anne is the first man who ruled over the seven kingdoms. So it was like seven kingdoms, pretty much seven nationalities that was always vying for power in Game of Thrones. And it was pretty much the elite trying to show you what a parallel of how they deal with their world. They're like their little seven elite clans that is always vying for power in Babylon. If you take a look at it, it was pretty on point. If you could really just take a look at a few things. I didn't want to get too much into it, but in our world, what we deal with the Iron Bank, it's called the Federal Reserve. And man, if you really want to see a good explanation of the Federal Reserve, on YouTube, there's a channel called The Epic Economist. And for March 30th, they did if you look under March 30th, they did a excellent insight, in-depth look at the Federal Reserve. So you can really see how they have pretty much just enslaved the Babylonians. In America, you are taxed. I mean, you're like, it's clear that we're being taxed by a foreign entity because there's no reason to tax people this much. I mean, your tax dollars really aren't. You don't see your tax dollars in motion. The only motion you see it in is a wire exchange to a foreign country like Israel or Ukraine for something for war. You don't see your tax dollars in work where you live at. I mean, they could have turned America into Dubai by now with all this money they're wasting just sending it to foreign nations. But the Federal Reserve System is the central banking system of the United States. It was created on December 23rd, 1913. And I believe that goes back to a book called something from Jekyll Island, which explains how the whole freakism went down to the forming of the Federal Reserve. But with the enactment of the Federal Reserve Act, after a series of financial panics led to the desire for central control of the monetary system in order to alleviate financial crises. Now, this is them talking. And then you look through here, you'll see people ask questions like, what does the Federal Reserve do? And they'll tell you it manages the nation's money supply. No, it enslaves you, okay? And then they ask another question like, who is the Federal Reserve owned by? And they'll give you some fake answer like, the Federal Reserve System, the Central Bank of the United States, is not owned by anyone, hint, hint, is an independent entity. See that word? Entity. Within the government, with both public and private characteristics accountable to Congress. Here's a more detailed explanation. I ain't reading all that. It said, what would happen if the Federal Reserve was abolished? Now, here's their answer. The U.S. economy could face instability, potentially leading to a return to pre-Great Depression volatility with the dollar's value destabilizing and the stock market experiencing significant turmoil. No, if that thing goes, boy, it'll be this woman. She's like, "Happy days are here again. The sky is blue and clear again." That's what would happen if we got rid of the Federal Reserve. I know an older lady. She used to sing that song, and I used to be like, "Oh my gosh, why is she singing that?" But I have one day I listened to her. I'm like, she really wants happy days. That whole MAGA mentality, man. They missed them happy days. They missed them 50s and the 60s and the 70s. Boy, they were living good. But that Federal Reserve, man, really kicked in and is put a gut punch in their ass. They don't know what to do with themselves now, man. These people are through. This place is through. All right, let's hit a couple scriptures. We'll go to Isaiah 63. We're going to go 1 through 5. All right, where's it? 6. Here we go. Isaiah 63. Who is that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? That is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. And we know Edom or a people. Basra is a place, but it's a people before it's a place. So wherever these people are that's running the Federal Reserve, that's Basra. Okay? Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, thy garments like him that tradeth in the wine fat? Let's just take a quick look at these people. Let's look at the Federal Reserve chair. There's just a list of them here. The current one, that would be Jerome Powell. Okay. The previous one was Janet Yellen, and I think I did a little lesson about her when she visited slave quarters on the western coast of Africa. And I was like, what is she doing there? Why would she visit that place? But we take a look at Yellen. Now we look at Ben Bernanke. He was under Obama. Alan Greenspan, that was Bush. Volcker, Miller. And there's a familiarity with these people. Because for some reason, people that are only less than 1% of the population are the only ones that are allowed to sit as the Fed chair. Right? They actually put one, Yellen, I believe she was probably the first woman to ever hold that role. But everyone else, these are like some gefilte fish eating dudes, if you know what I'm talking about, them small hats. So that's them. This is, look, going back 36, 30, 13, 20, straight back to the beginning. That's all of them. You know what these guys, look at him. You know what he doing. You know what these guys are about. You know what this guy's about. You know what I'm saying? That's them. These are the only people allowed to sit as the Fed chair. This is where all that's control. This is the Iron Bank right here. Let's just go back to Isaiah. So who is it that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in greatness in his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the wine press alone, and of the people there was none with me. Any of these guys were Yahushai? No, none of them. Not one of them. And believe me, everyone in the room looks like these guys. Everyone in the room is one of these dudes right here. I've tried the wine press alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. And I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore mine own arm brought salvation unto me, my arm, and my fury, it upheld me. Yep, fury. He's going to put the fury ass whooping on these I mean, look at this. What you need all that money? Why is this guy running? Why are these people running anything? Really? Do you think this guy's good for anything? What do you think this guy can do? These guys claim like what did Trump just say? We want everyone. We're getting rid of affirmative action. We're getting rid of DEI. We want people to get positions because of their abilities. Well, guess what, Trump? Everything in America is going to look like the NFL and the NBA. If we're giving out jobs because of abilities and because of objective acquirements, every place that's worth anything is going to look like the NFL and the NBA because these guys are subjectively put in that position. Okay, they ain't worth shit. This motherfucker can't do shit. Okay, they ain't. I don't want him on my team. I'm not picking him. The only reason he's there is because he's a crook. Okay, these are all crooks, thieves. You know what I'm saying? They want you to do the work. And then at the end of the day, they call you a useless eater and they get all the glory and the praise. And they tell you what's going to get taxed, how you're going to spend your money. They come up with think tanks to keep you poor. They come up with people like Donald Trump to push some garbage, acting like he's some tough guy, like he's earned everything. Man, you crazy, man. Everybody know about you. All right, let's go to let's just go to Revelations 18. Let's start wrapping this thing up. Revelation 18. We're going to start off at 1 first. After these things, I saw another angel coming down from heaven. He had great authority. His glory filled the earth with light. With a mighty voice, he shouted, "Fallen! Babylon the Great has fallen." Okay? The space is fallen. It's done. The stock market is still there. This thing crashed years ago. These crooks are finagling numbers subjectively to make it look like it's still doing something. I mean, what is it now? NVIDIA, some company out of Taiwan is up. Come on, man. This place is done. Everything's closing. I went to one of my favorite eateries yesterday, about ready to open the door and the place is closed. Man, if it wasn't people, I was about ready to throw a fit out there. I mean, I waited till I got home to throw a fit, but I was like, what the? But truthfully, man, I'm expecting everything to close anyway. I know everything's about to close down, but that was my little spot right there. You know what I'm saying? Just closing for no warning. It's just closed. Okay. So where we at? We're in, Babylon's falling. This place is done. It's falling. Okay. It's over. I'm just waiting for the hammer to come down. That's all we're waiting on. Let's drop down to 8. But she will be plagued by death, sadness, and hunger. You hear that? Everything. Plagued by death. That's the smell right there. That's horror. That's people run through the screen. Screaming. Scared to death. Sadness. You know what that look like? That's that cold feeling. That's just loneliness, sadness, and hunger. That's it. That's when you hear your stomach just growling. In a single day, she will suffer all these plagues. What? She will be burned up by fire. That's because the Lord, God, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, who judges her, is mighty. Mighty. It ain't fun beating up the homeless guy. For some reason, I don't know, these Edomites like killing the homeless people. I don't know. But it's really fun beating up that rich guy. So that's why the Most High, he wait till you got in your full pride. You got your thongs on and your wig, calling yourself RuPaul, walking down, Andy Cohen, damn, Anderson Cooper, little homosexuals. Yeah, looking down at the masculine man. You can't find a job. You fill out about 1,000 applications. You still broke. You know what I'm saying? They laughing at you. But you know what I'm saying? But guess what? The Lord God is mighty. He's going to take you down, you elites. Let's push into 9. The kings of the earth who committed terrible sins with her will weep. You hear that? Moab, Ammon, Elam, Assyria, Ham, the kings of the earth who committed terrible sins. What are sins? You know, that's transgression of the law. Y'all know what the sins are. But the nations really, y'all just under the Ten Commandments. Only an Israelite can sin, but everyone knows. Everyone's whole. That's a galactic laws. Those 10 Commandments. That's galactic. I don't care where you go. All the nations know about them 10 laws. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. You know what they are. Terrible sins. That little little playing with them little boys' butts. You know what I'm saying? Doing all that nasty stuff. The kings of the earth who committed terrible sins with her will weep. They will mourn because they used to share her riches. They will see the smoke rising as she burns, then will be terrified by her suffering. They will stand far away from her, and they will cry out, "Ooh, how terrible! How terrible it is for you, great city! How terrible for you, mighty city, Babylon! In just 1 hour, you have been destroyed." So that's what's going to happen here. It's just going to happen, right? Because, look at Babylon. Musk announces bombshell Doge investigation into strangely wealthy Congress people. Nancy Pelosi, they said her father was a mafia boss out of Baltimore. She's been working in government her whole life. Why is she worth like $50 million? Why is Pocahontas worth over $30 million? These people get $200,000 checks monthly. What's going on here? See, but don't let a nigga have $20 in his pocket. They'll do you like George Floyd. They'll kneel on your neck. Then try to give that nigga Derek Chauvin a motherfucking damn pardon. Yeah. So we know what's going to happen to these dudes. There's nothing but death coming for you. Hunger. Sadness. That's what you have to look forward to, Edom. So I'm going to end it right there. We're going to say all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Honor to those I've learned from. And shalom to those of Yasharallah seeking the truth, seeking righteousness, and hoping for edification. Shalom.